is Chef Andy. We are making my famous spaghetti and meatballs, but in order to make the best spaghetti meatballs, you gotta have an amazing tomato sauce. So we reached out to our friends over at Pomi Tomatoes and they sponsored this video for you guys. I'm really excited to be working with Pomi because I already use all of their products and these are the best tomatoes. They have this sweet flavor that is just incredible. Not only that, they're BPA free, non-GMO, and most importantly, they come from Italia, the homeland. We gotta support. So thank you to Pomi for making this show possible. They support us here on the channel, so I'll leave all their links in the description. Go support them, go check them out. Guys, these are the best. All right, let's start making spaghetti and meatballs. All right, so the first step is gonna be strained tomato sauce. So I'm gonna take my Pomi tomato sauce. I'm taking 3 cartons of it. Just gonna cut it open and I'm gonna put it right into, you know, a nice big cast iron pot where we're eventually gonna cook all of our meatballs. And you know, I think these tomatoes are so good, not only because they're grown really well, but their packaging. They put them in these nice cartons instead of a metal can. Whereas when they're in metal cans, the tomato kind of takes that taste of the metal. When they're in these cartons, you don't get that metal flavor. Anyway, so this is gonna be our base for our sauce. So we've got our tomato sauce going right here. Just to give it a little more flavor, I'm gonna take a red onion, cut it in half, and then we're gonna put that right in the sauce. Now what that's gonna do is it's gonna transfer the flavor of the onion to the sauce without having a bunch of onion in there. I'm also gonna take a pinch of salt and mix that around. And we're gonna let it go on a low simmer to extract that onion. And then our sauce is almost done because it's so good on its own. Okay, so while this is cooking, I'm gonna chop up a beautiful red onion, okay? So we're gonna use a whole onion. You guys all know how to cut up an onion, and if you don't, check out my video on how to cut an onion. I'll leave the link in the description, but we're gonna take off that skin and start chopping this thing up. By the way, these meatballs, these are the best in the entire world. I've never had better meatballs than this, and I'm gonna translate that knowledge to you right now. Onions are nice and chopped. Let's throw these guys in, and we're gonna saute these. Boom. And what I'm looking for is for the onions to turn translucent, and that means that they're done. While our onions are cooking, I'm gonna take 3 cloves of garlic. I'm just gonna chop that up really nice and fine. Make sure to get it fine. We're gonna throw that in with our onions once we're done. Garlic is nice and minced. Now I'm just gonna put that in with our onions. We'll let that cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. Don't burn your garlic, okay. All right, so everything's cooking over there. Now I'm gonna start to get my bread ready. So I'm gonna take some beautiful ciabatta bread. This stuff is amazing. And I am going to just cut 5 pieces. So about a half a loaf. I should be using a different knife, but this will do. Perfect, there's 5 pieces. Now here's my trick. I'm gonna soak the ciabatta bread in 2 cups of whole milk. Take my 2 cups of milk. I'm just gonna let that soak while we're prepping the rest of our stuff. Now it's time for the fun part. Let's make some meatballs. But before we do that, I gotta turn off my onions because those are finished, okay? Now the reason why my meatballs taste so good is because we're not just gonna use beef. We're not just gonna use pork. We're not just gonna use veal. We're gonna use all 3 of those meats. So I'm gonna take a ½ pound of veal, ½ pound of pork, and a ½ pound of beef, ground beef. Remember, 20% fat, that's got the flavor. And we're gonna put that in our mixing bowl. Pinch of fresh oregano. Wow, that smells incredible. Pinch of salt. Some fresh cracked pepper, about a pinch of it. About a ½ cup of freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Now we're gonna put in our red onion and garlic. Oh my gosh, this is already smelling so good. Drizzle of olive oil, and now we're gonna add our bread. So what you wanna do with the bread, it's been soaking in that milk, you just wanna squeeze all that milk out as much as you can. And then we're gonna put it in a food processor, and we're just gonna turn that on for a second. So just take your bread, squeeze it out, because we don't want all this milk in our meatballs. We just want the bread to soak that up. And if you don't have a food processor, you can just chop it up with a knife, but this thing just makes it easy. Boop. Okay, only like 15 seconds on the food processor. Okay, let's sprinkle in our bread. Now we're gonna add a ½ cup of freshly sliced parsley. Okay, cut off those ends, and then just start chopping. Oh, you gotta love the smell of fresh parsley. Whew, I wish you could smell it, it's incredible. And now for la finale, 1 farm fresh egg. Just crack that right over. And now the fun part. You're just gonna take it and just start mixing it in with your hands. Now, we don't wanna mix it up too much because we don't want everything to be super fine. We kinda want it nice and chunky. So each meatball is kind of slightly different. You know, maybe it's got a little more bread or a little more of something else. The smell of this is incredible. You got that fresh parsley, the onions, those different types of meat. So this is the texture that you wanna get, chunks of bread, onions, you don't want it to be mixed up too fine. Okay, so once we've mixed everything together, we're gonna start making our balls. I like my meatballs to be the same size each, so I've got my scale, and I'm just gonna take 3 ounces per meatball. Perfect, that was a perfect measurement, come on. And then you don't wanna pack these in too tight, because when you pack them in too tight, they're just gonna be super hard. We just wanna gently, roll them together, and then place them on a cookie sheet. In Italian, they're called polpette, not meatballs. I think meatballs are kind of more of an American, Italian-American, recipe. But in Italy, they make a lot of different ball type of dishes, and they're called polpette. I remember when my nonna used to make this for us kids, and you just walk into the house and the whole place smelled like spaghetti and meatballs. It was so good. These meatballs look and smell incredible. Oh. That's so good. Okay, so we're gonna set those down. Our sauce is ready, but we're gonna take out these red onions that we had cooking in there. Now, all that flavor from the onion has been extracted into the sauce. Now it's time to cook our meatballs, and this is one of my tricks. Instead of cooking it in the oven, I'm gonna cook it in my sauce. So I'm just gonna take my meatball and just put that right in our red sauce. I baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit into the name of the tomato sauce. This is called meatball baptism, when you just take the meatball, baptize it right in the sauce. So I'm gonna shake this pot, make sure that all those meatballs are covered by that beautiful sauce. And then I'm gonna take my top, put that on, and we're gonna let those cook for 30 to 45 minutes on low. It has been 30 minutes. Let's just check our meatballs. Oh my gosh, these look incredible. Wow, they look so good. Okay, so I'm gonna keep letting these cook, but while they're cooking, I'm gonna start cooking my spaghetti. So I've got a boiling pot of water, and I'm just gonna put my spaghetti in, let that cook for about 7 to 8 minutes. We're looking for al dente, and then we're gonna marry the two, the sauce and the meatballs, with the spaghetti together. Okay, let's check our spaghetti. Wow, looks amazing. Gotta do a little taste test. Perfectly al dente. Okay, so I'm gonna take my spaghetti, transfer it to my bowl, and I just take it right out of the water because we want a little bit of the water. I like the water. Okay, perfect. We got our spaghetti nice and al dente. Now we're gonna take our meatballs and our sauce, and we're just gonna drizzle this right on top. First, I like to start out with a little bit of sauce, and then you just put that meatball right on top. Wow, this looks incredible and it smells so good. Once we got our sauce on there, then I'm just gonna start taking my meatballs and plopping it right on top. And what's cool about this sauce is that, if you have a meatball that breaks, it just gets spread throughout the sauce, and that's okay. Look at that plate. That is incredible. All right, we got our classic spaghetti and meatballs. This looks incredible. Okay, I gotta dive in here. I'm just gonna go for the meatball on this one. Going in. Salute. Oh my gosh, that is incredible. So many different flavors going on, all those different meats. That sauce just like sets the tone for everything though. It's the base. It tastes so good, so sweet. That's like perfect combination of sauce and meatball. You know what's great about these meatballs is they're not too dry. Like a lot of meatballs are like dry and like hard. Like these just break right away. They're moist. Let's try the spaghetti and meatballs. Let's get the dream bite. Oh, a big bite. Big bite. That sauce is incredible. Seriously, it's the sweetness. It's so simple. Paired up with that meat, the spaghetti. Also, I saved a piece of bread. This is another traditional move here. Take the bread, dip it in that sauce. Perfecto. You know what'd be good? Take some hard bread, Put some spaghetti and meatballs with some sauce. Put it together, you got yourself a meatball sandwich with a little spaghetti. Well, there you go, my famous spaghetti and meatballs. Thank you again, Pomi, for sponsoring this video. You help keep our food movement alive. Guys, I'll leave Pomi's links in the description. Go check them out. I'm serious, these are the best stuff in the world. Well, I got this huge plate of spaghetti and meatballs, so I'm gonna get to work, and I'll see you next time in the kitchen. Ciao, belle.